I'm Marta, and on this channel I share with you simple recipes from all around the world. And today I will show you how I make my Moroccan style couscous with figs. I created this recipe a couple of years ago, trying to reproduce in my home the flavors of Moroccan tagine. I decided to focus only on a couple of simple ingredients, which then I bring to Morocco with a mix of spices. I used to make it with chicken legs or thighs, which is delicious, but because in my home we're trying to reduce the amount of meat we eat, I created a vegan version, and I'm very satisfied with the results. Before we start, let me remind you that as always you can find the full list of the ingredients in the description box below the video. Okay, here's how I make it. Today I make the couscous using these beautiful fresh figs, but I have previously replaced them with frozen or canned ones. Another main ingredient are the red onions. And to replace meat, I add a cup of cooked chickpeas. Those come from a can. I also love to add a generous amount of dried plums, which I often found in the original Moroccan tagines. I'm also going to add a few carrots and my favorite ingredient, the parsley root. It is beautifully fragrant and it really fits here very well. And I will top it all with almond flakes. You could also add a handful of whole almonds, but because I have little kids at home, I avoid these for now. As I told you in my previous video, in many of my dishes, the secret ingredient is the homemade vegetable stock. And I also use it here, but you could replace it with water. Okay, I start by caramelizing the onions because this takes the longest. My favorite way to slice them is to first cut them lengthwise and then slice them into stripes. If you do it this way, you will end up with more or less even-sized pieces which will cook evenly. I fry them with a bit of olive oil and a pinch of salt on a medium-low heat. It is important to control the temperature, not to burn them. They should slowly get softer and then start to get brown and sweet. For me, this process took 40 minutes, and by then the onions were sweet and jammy. Now to the spices. To give my couscous some North African notes, I add an excellent spice mix called Ras El Hanout. In the description box below the video, I will link for you the one I'm using here. To this, I add 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of ginger powder, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and half a teaspoon of chili powder, which you could double if you like it more spicy. I add this fragrant mixture into the caramelized onions and I squeeze in 1 clove of garlic. I give it all a stir and I let it heat up for about 30 seconds to boost the aroma. Next, I add 3 cups of liquid. Here I use half of my homemade vegetable broth and half of water. I stir it all to kind of dissolve the spices, and then I add 1 cup of chickpeas, chopped root vegetables, and the dried plums which I cut into smaller pieces. If you decide to add a handful of whole almonds, you can also do it at this moment. I bring it all to a boil and I season it with half a tablespoon of maple syrup, 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, and salt. While adding salt, take into account that it will all reduce in volume, so don't add too much of it. Now I let it simmer for about 10 minutes and during this time I prepare the figs. I cut the hard tip off and then I slice each fruit into 6 wedges, like so. Here I used 9 figs, which at first might look like a lot. But you will see, once they are cooked down, it is a perfect amount. I add all these figs into my cast iron skillet and then I transfer it into the oven preheated to 200 degrees Celsius for another 10 minutes. And during this time I prepare the couscous. This couldn't be easier. I simply add 1 volume of dry couscous into a bowl and then I cover it with 2 volumes of boiling water. I add a bit of salt and I let it rest for a couple of minutes. To get 1 generous portion, I estimate 1/3 of a cup of dried couscous. When the 10-minute baking time is over, I cover the dish with almond flakes. And be generous, these go really well here. Now I put it back to the oven and I let it rest for another 3 to 5 minutes. And it's ready. By now the figs are soft and the almond flakes are golden brown. I serve it with couscous and I garnish it with a couple of pieces of fresh fig. It is beautifully fragrant and slightly spicy, which goes really well with the caramelized onions and the sweet figs. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you would like to stay up to date with all my newest step-by-step recipes, do subscribe to my channel and click the bell so that you are notified when my newest videos are out. Thank you for watching until the end, and I hope to see you next Monday. Bye!